Hi everyone, Kelly here with the Siren and the Pirate jewelry for the adventurer, and coming at you with another tutorial today. And I'm going to be teaching you how to make these rings, which I think that they're unisex. A lot of times I like to wear this on my thumb. I do call them men's rings because they are part of my men's line jewelry, the Renegade collection. I also do have a smaller version. So I'll tell you the difference between the gauges of wire. So if you want to make either a smaller one or a larger one, you can do that. Today we're going to be focusing on this chunkier men's ring. And I've got one. I'm going to be working with copper on camera here today, but I really like the look of the silver. So we're going to be doing this weave here. And this front, the nice thing is you can wear it either way. I like the look of this, but you could also turn it around. So let's go ahead and get started. I was checking my notes and thought I might give you this little tip. I have a little journal that I keep at my workbench, and I'll write down the amount of wire that I use for each of my designs, because a lot of times I'll make a design and then it's going to be a long time before I can actually get back to it, and then I've forgotten, and I have to go back and rethink and experiment. So to cut down on that, I just write down what I use. And anyways, that's a good little tip. Keep a little notebook at your bench. Okay. All right, so we're gonna make these rings, the chunkier one. So we will be using 16 gauge wire, and you're gonna need 3 pieces. And I've cut these to about 7 inches in length. So these will be your base wires. And you'll also be using a piece of 24 gauge wire. And this one is about 3 feet. So this will be the weaving wire. If you do want to create the smaller ring, here I've used 20 gauge wire as the base wire, and then the weaving wire is 28 gauge wire. This one's done in silver. These have been patinaed. I always put a link to how to do the patina process. I have a separate video on that, so that link is in the description box below. You can check that out. So we're gonna shoot for a size 10 today in this ring. So just know that you may have to adjust your wire lengths or the amount that you weave depending on the size of the ring that you want. So 10 is going to give you kind of a base, and then you'll just have to know to adjust up or adjust down to get the size that you want. So let's get started. All right, grab a little Sharpie if you have one. I'm going to take the middle wire, because we want the weave to be in the center of this wire. So we have the ends are open. So, and we need approximately 2 inches of weave. So I'm going to come in here and mark about the 2.5 mark and the 4.5 mark. So that gives me my 2 inches in the center. And then I'll just put that right there, back in place, so I know where to start and where to end my weave. Now you can take your 24 gauge wire. I'm going to pick up the center base wire. We'll just start with that one. And on that Sharpie mark, we'll leave a little tail on the back side. And let me walk you through this weave now. I don't have a name for this weave. We'll call it the Renegade weave. So we're going to start with the center wire, and we're going to wrap around once, twice, 3 times. Have some pliers or flat nose pliers close to you, because we will need to be pressing this and compressing the weave as we go along to make it nice and tight looking. All right, so we've got 3, and I'm sorry, I'm going to try to get in closer. There we go. Sometimes my new phone doesn't like to focus as well as my iPhone did, but we'll make it work. All right, now I'm going to put the other 2 base wires on either side of the middle wire. And now we're going to take our weaving wire and go around all of the wires once, twice. And if you're not used to working with these thicker gauge wires or weaving with 24 gauge, it's a little different. You have to create tension as you go around, but being careful not to pull everything too close together. All right. And then that's going to be our weave. 3 around the center and then 2 around all of the wires. So from here, I'm going to go between wires 1 and 2. And then between wires 2 and 3. And then you got to press it in and pull down to get that coil around the middle wire. Do that 2 more times. Okay. And then I did it with my fingers, but you can always use your pliers. All right, let's do that again, going around all of the wires once, twice. And then around the middle wire 3 times. All right, that's our weave. I'm gonna go ahead and do the full 2 inches, and then I'll bring you back. Just make sure we haven't trimmed off the tail from the beginning yet. And once you get your 2 inches, go ahead and keep whatever leftover wire you still have on there. We'll trim it later. All right, here we go. All right, now that we have our 2 inches of the weave, this is about what it should look like. And also, PS, if you're having troubles getting your weave to look nice, I have like a little series on troubleshooting wire weaving problems. So I will put that down in the description below. Or if you look through my videos, it should be called like Why Your Weave Looks Whack. Yeah, it's dumb. Anyways, check out those videos for some technique tips. Onward. All right, so we're gonna start to shape this into the ring band. So you're gonna need, I have 2 types of ring mandrels. I have this big heavy duty one, and then I have this, I'm gonna zoom out here, sorry. There you go. Big heavy duty, small, lightweight, cheapy plastic one. I like them both, and I like to use them for different reasons. This one's very lightweight to carry around. When I'm just doing a lot of wire weaving stuff, I use this. This one I use a lot for my metal smithing because I can hit on it and I can form rings around the mandrel. And I don't necessarily like to hit this one. It's not very sturdy, doesn't work that great for it. So I'm going to use this one to get started, but I'm actually going to use both of these. All right, so if we're going for a size 10, I'm going to start at about a 10.5 because if you know from the other videos or making rings, you know that when you are wrapping wire around the band, it's going to shrink it up. So we have to kind of keep that in mind, start bigger, and it's going to get smaller. So I start about a half size up. And so I'll place the middle of the weave at the 10.5 mark and start to form it. Now, because this is kind of a thick ring, I'm not really going to get the desired roundness, perfectly round, that I'm looking for. So I like to get it started, and then I will come in with a pair of pliers, or if you have some nylon pliers, I use the nylon pliers. And I'm going to come up to the top and I'm going to weave. Let me see, hold on. There. I'm going to interlock the wires like this. Okay. And now I'll go back to forming, and probably at this time I can go ahead and trim the tails. Sometimes I wait until later, but I'm going to go ahead and trim them now, and I trim them on the inside. Don't worry, this part of the ring is not going to be in contact really or too much with the skin. So if there's any pointies, I wouldn't worry about it. You can always go in with a pair of pliers, push those pointy parts down, or if you have some filing and polishing tools at the end, we can smooth it out so we make sure nothing's going to snag the skin, feel uncomfortable while wearing. All right, anyway. Cool. So you can just watch how I'm forming this. Let me zoom out a little. There we go. All right, that kind of shrunk up a little bit, so I want to bring it back down to that 10.5 mark. Stretch it open. And actually, I'm pretty happy with that band. It turned out nice. If you still have any issues, that's when I would use this ring mandrel. Let me see if I can adjust the camera angle here, and I'll show you. 1 second. All right, yeah, that works. So I've got holes in my workbench for this. There we go. So you can always put the ring on and then either use a nylon hammer or a rawhide, something that's not going to scratch up the ring. And you can always form this around the mandrel using this technique. It'll also help to work harden it and just make a nice circle. I don't have to do too much to this one because it's already formed well. Okay. Do make sure that you don't miss that step I did where I kind of interlaced these wires. You want to do that before you completely form it. Otherwise you're going to get here and you'll have three wires here and 3 wires here, and then you're going to have to kind of bend them all up to try to interlace them, and that's a pain in the butt. So do it earlier. That way when it's formed, it's already where it needs to be. Now I'm going to go back to my other mandrel, slide it on so that can pull it tight, make sure it's the size I want. All right, now from here, the top wire, I'm gonna start to curl around a little bit further, and the very bottom wire, same thing. All right, let's pull it off. And now the top wire, right where your first weave begins, I'm gonna bend this wire straight down at a 90-degree angle. So to do that, I like to use my pliers. These are little needle nose pliers from Siren. I probably just ordered them off of Amazon. And right where that weave starts, that's where I'm gonna put my bend. Ta-da. Okay, and then I'm gonna do that to the other side. So one's going up, one's going down. And now I'm gonna wrap this wire around the band. And the only thing I want to make sure is that, here, let me get it going and then I'll explain. So just kind of tuck it in. If I pull too hard, this, I want to keep it so it's kind of sticking up straight. And if I pull too hard, that's going to pull it down into the center, and I don't want that. So you have to be careful to keep it positioned where you want it. Kind of pull. And then once I get it almost there, I'm going to press it. Hope that makes sense. There. And let's do that to the other side. All right. We'll pause right there. Just kind of keep these out of the way. We're not done with them. And now you're left with two wires on the top, and I'm going to fold them over. And you should have a little bend there where they're folding over the wire we just wrapped around the band. Okay. Oh, there we go. And now I'm going to trim this wire off. And I don't really have a set size. You can always trim longer because you can always go shorter. I'm going to leave about, let's say, that much room. So we're looking at from there to there. And try to trim them evenly. Oh, I didn't trim that one very evenly. That's okay. Same thing over here. Try to get it the same as the other side. So that's what we're left with. Now, take your pliers. We're going to put a little curl on the ends of these so they kind of tuck into the wire or meet that wire that we just took around, this one. There. So it kind of pops up. Same thing over here. Ta-ta-ta-da. And at this point, the wires, because we've been working with them, are going to be getting harder to move. That's called work hardening. The more you work with a piece of wire, the tougher and harder it gets. If you want to reverse that, you would have to anneal it. And annealing is when you heat the wire up. If you have like a torch, heat the wire up, cool it down, and then it will come back to being less hard, more flexible. So try not to fidget too much with the wires, because each time you're bending it, it's going to make it harder. Easier said than done sometimes. All right, now, last step. Well, not the very last step, but getting towards the end here. We're going to wrap this wire around the band twice on this side. I like to go in and to be careful with this one, because I don't want to scratch the wire. If you do scratch the wire, we can kind of file and polish that out at the end. Don't worry too much. If there's little marks, that's okay. And one more time down. All right, cool. It's getting hard to move. All right, so I've got these ending on the inside of the ring. And what I like to do is go in with my flush cutters and kind of trim them on the inside at an angle. See if we can see that angle. Yeah. And I'm doing this so that I can push it down. Maybe. This one's a little short. I could have used a little extra length. Okay. That will help to make sure it's not going to catch, rub wrong on the finger with the hard edge. Feels okay. I'm also going to go in with some tools here in a minute, and we'll file down so that there's nothing sticking out. But there's the ring, and so let's see what size we ended up with. Let's see if it fixed my size 10. Yeah, it's a tad loose. I could have adjusted some stuff. At the very end too, if you still don't have a good shape to your ring, I would suggest taking it to here, or if you need to stretch it a little bit, a lot of times you can stretch these rings. So if it ended up like a half size too small, put it on here, press it down, use a hammer to push it down, but just make sure that you take it off, flip it over, do the same thing. You could hit it with the hammer to help work harden it and make sure it's got a nice shape to it. So that is the men's Renegade ring. I'm going to take you through the next steps. Let's do some finishing. I don't always do finishing on the videos because I have separate videos for that, but let's go ahead and do like the whole patina, and I'll show you some of my polishing tools and some filing tools that I have. These are the things at the end, the polishing, the touch-ups that kind of take your jewelry, I think, to the next level. It's all the little details that make the difference. Okay, I'm going to show you the patina process. For this, I am using liver of sulfur. This is XL gel, little 2 fluid ounce bottle that I just bought off of Amazon. And I've got some warm water, and I've just put like 1 or 2 drops in here. Smells horrible, smells like sulfur. And then over here, I've got some baking soda and water to neutralize it after. So we'll take this ring, and I just use a little other piece of wire and just dunk it in. The warmer, hotter your wire, or so your water, the faster this is gonna work. So it's already turning black. So a patina on metal will naturally patina on its own over time from exposure to oxygen in the air. And this just really speeds up the process, does it instantly. So there's a little coating over the metal. All right, that went pretty fast. And then I will just rinse it off. Baking soda and water will help to neutralize that patina process. Sometimes I don't do this. Sometimes I'll just, run it under some regular water. That's fine too. And whoop, this is what we got. Let's dry it off. All right, so this is dried off. And just a tip here, do not pour this down your drain immediately afterwards. You could, it's not good for the pipes. So you need to either let it sit or neutralize it. So I could pour baking soda, water into it, or let it sit, I think, for like at least probably 72 hours, I would think. It'll turn clear, and when it's clear, then you can dispose of it down the drain if you wish. Otherwise, I just cover it, put it somewhere, and wait and dump it down the sink later. These are the main tools that I used for filing and polishing. So I've got some sandpaper here. This is a 400 grit, 600, and 1200. I've got some small filing tools. These are great for small projects like this. I've also got a very large one. But I find that these are very handy, especially for projects like this. I got these from Rio Grande. I can't remember what size or whatever they are, but there's different shapes to all these. This is a triangle shape. This one is just cone shaped. But these are really great for getting into small spaces. So I like to use those. For polishing, these are really great to have on hand. A lot of times I'll include these in purchases too. When someone purchases something from my Etsy shop, I'll also send them a little sample of a polishing pad so they have an idea of where they can, or what they can use to help maintain and clean their jewelry. These are little pre-treated pads that have a slight abrasiveness to them, really great for polishing. And then what I've really started to use a lot more of is my rotary tool with these sunburst radial discs. So they're soft, but they're like little pieces of sandpaper. And they have different grit sizes. This is the Dremel I use. It's just a little tiny one, and I have the docking station over there, so this one doesn't have a cord or anything. That's nice. Just have to make sure that, you know, it stays charged. So we have a really coarse grit, 80 grit, all the way down to ultra fine, 1 micron. Whatever that means, I know it's fine. So you can, when you're polishing, I will first start with one of the coarser grits, and to take some of the patina off, and then to smooth out the surface of the metal, I work down to this ultra fine. So it gives a really nice shiny look to it. When you start with the coarse, it'll kind of like, it looks like it burnishes it a little. It'll make the metal kind of coarse and sort of matte looking. And then the further I go down, the more it kind of shines up. So what should we do with this? Let's polish it first. I'll just kind of show you what the polishing pad will do. Let's zoom in. You can wear gloves, of course, for this if you don't want to get your hands all dirty. That's like an extra step, and I'm lazy, so I'm just doing it like this. So you can start to see how that takes off. You know, whatever is higher on the surface, the polishing pad will take off that patina. And I like to fold this so I can get into smaller areas. All right, so very messy, but it gets the job done. It takes a little bit more labor to do that, so that's why I switched over to using the Dremel and the sunburst discs. And people outside have decided to start hammering while I'm doing this tutorial, of course. All right, let's turn this on. All right. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of work down. And I might not every time do every single disc. That would take a really long time. So I might kind of skip, do a coarser one, do a finer one, and then do an ultra fine. So let's do that. All right, so this is all nice and polished up. And I forgot to mention too, if you need to go back in and file anything down, you can, if you've got marks in there, go ahead and use like sandpaper. And the nice thing about sandpaper is you could cut off little pieces of it, roll it around, make your own tool if you need to get, into small places. And file that down, sand it down, will help take the marks out of your metal. Now this will only work if you're doing like a pure metal that doesn't have like a core, so nothing like plated. If you do it unplated, it's just going to take off the plate and expose the core, whatever that is. But on something like pure copper or sterling silver, fine silver, brass, you could file, or you can go and use, I could use whatever tools in here. And I can go in and I can file down and make whatever I need smooth. When you're filing, just make sure you're only going in one direction. Don't go back and forth because that will end up clogging up the teeth in the file. So I'm not gonna really do it on camera here, but because I need to probably position my hands better. But yeah, I can go in and file any parts that I think would be uncomfortable for the wearer. I can file those down. And then after that, that's probably when, so like order of things, I would probably do the heavy grit one first, just to kind of take off the patina so I can see the ring and any marks that I need to fix. I would go in and I would file, sand anything down that needed sanding, and then I would work my way back down to that ultra fine sundial disc to get a nice finished look. So this is our finished product for the men's Renegade ring. Again, they look really great done in silver as well. It's been patinaed, filed, polished, and this one, it's about 10 and a half. So I hope you give this one a go. As always, I love when you tag me in your work. So if you have an Instagram account, Facebook, post pictures of your work and tag me in it at the Siren and the Pirate. And I love to see your work, and I love to reshare all of that. So what else? Oh yeah, check out my website at www.thesirenandthepirate.com. I do send out lots of discount codes and newsletters here and there. I have a blog that kind of tells you a little bit more about my story and the story of my jewelry brand, how it came to be. And right now I have a Valentine's Day sale going on. So if you're looking for gifts for him, for her, for whoever, check out my Valentine's Day sale. It's going on all month through February 14th, and everything is 25% off. So we can do these, if you don't want to make them yourself, you can just ring me up. I'll make it for you. Send it out all packaged nicely. So thanks so much, everyone, for watching. If you have any questions, I'm here in the comments. Hopefully, I'm hoping to do this as a premiere, but I've never done a premiere before, so I got to set that up. Put your questions, comments down below, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much. Bye.